In this video, I'm going to be going over the pros and the cons when it comes to being in sales and really even seeing if it's worth it for you. Quick disclaimer, I shot this content around 8 months ago when I was working for an automotive sales trainer, and I was looking at it and I'm like, man, I'm honestly going to delete this. But then I thought this is pretty valuable, and I think a lot of people can find value from this video. So while it's geared for the automotive industry, I think if you use just a little bit of brain power, you can ultimately steer this into just about any sales industry. With that being said, my name's Gian, and I've been the top 1% in 3 different sales industries, and I'm currently climbing my way through the 4th. Really, my goal with this channel is to bring sales to the masses. You see, a lot of people think that they have to, spend 5-6 years in college. They have to start an Amazon FBA, a drop shipping, or go into real estate to make money, or they ultimately end up thinking you have to be this big CEO in order to achieve high levels of success. The reality of it is that my goal is not to steer you down those being not the right options, but ultimately just to show you that there's another route to accomplish. So with that being said, I really don't have much to sell you on this. Let's get right into the video. All right, so we'll do one con and then one pro so you can get the best idea of what it's like actually being on the lot and being a car salesman. So con number 1, there's a huge learning curve. If it's your first sales job, you're gonna have to learn how to sell, and you're also gonna learn the inventory. But the problem is that your dealership only trains you on your inventory. 90% of dealerships don't train you on how to sell. Mainly what it'll look like is that they stick you with an old car dog, or your manager gives you a couple tips when you go up to his desk, but you get no real training on how to sell. So there's a good side and there's a bad side to that. Number 1, if you sound like the guy across the street, they'll treat you like the guy across the street. So you gotta make sure that you're being trained outside of the dealership. And number 2, 99% of car salesmen sound like the same old stereotypical car salesman. So if you do get some training, you'll sound completely different, and it'll completely change the way that you look at sales and the earning potential that you have, which we'll get into that later. But pro number 1 is that you're going to meet tons of people, meaning that you're going to get repetition on your sales skills, allowing you to develop higher sales skills. But number 2, you're going to be able to make connections. I met tons of people that gave me job opportunities because I was good at my job. So for example, a real estate broker offered me a job, and if you work at some more highline stores, you'll really be surprised as to who you meet and the connections that you make. So one time I sold a Ford F-150, the Super Duty, the big ones, the ones that cost $100,000 or more. What are those called? Can't believe I said them. I don't remember what they're called. But it was a $100,000 more car, and it was from a real estate developer that's doing over $200 million a year in revenue. The people that you surround yourself with are the people that you end up becoming. So it's important to surround yourself with great and powerful people. And since you meet a lot of people, you're going to be able to make a lot of connections. Con number 2, you're going to have to work long hours. Right? In any sales job, especially in the first couple years, you're going to have to work the long hours. You're going to have to sacrifice the weekends. You're going to have to sacrifice the club or sacrifice the time hanging out with your boys. And truthfully, you're going to have to work a lot of hours, and you're going to have to refine and get better at your craft. So con number 2 is that you're going to have to work a lot of hours. And you can look at it from a different perspective, because if you work a lot of hours and you like what you do, it's kind of like being heaven on earth for every single day that you're alive. But if you don't like what you do, then it kind of becomes like, man, I'm only doing this for the money. I'm working long hours. Is it worth it? Is it not? So it's kind of depending on how you look at it. If you work long hours, you're gonna make a lot more money, and you're gonna get better at your craft much better. There was a review done by Harvard, and once you left Harvard for these law schools, the CEOs of the company would recommend that they work 60 plus hours a week. They'd work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they rest on Sundays. And then there was these journalists going crazy like, oh, you're making them work too hard, it's too many hours, oh, this, all that. But the truth is that it takes you 10,000 hours to master a skill. So if you're working 6 days a week for 60 hours, it takes you 2.5 years to master that skill. I said if you're working 40 hours a week, it takes you 5 to 6 years, or 4 to 5 years. So, it's kind of dependent off of how you look at it. You work longer hours, you get to master your skill in less time, making you more money, so that way you don't have to work that hard later on throughout your life, and you can really take it easier. But pro number 2, kind of like how we talked about before, you're going to have a massive earning potential. There's no cap on what you can make. It's not that 9 to 5 where you'll make 50 grand a year. It's the how many hours you want to work. And you can make 50 grand a year, you can make 100 grand a year, you can make 200, 300, $500,000 a year. Okay, con number 3, you get tons of rejection. Look, when you're in selling, at least when you first start, you're gonna get more no's than you get yes. You're gonna have to learn how to power through and consistently push through the rejection. Pro number 3, it's a business within a business, right? So if you become good and if you become the top 1%, you can negotiate with your management team, to work the hours that you want to work, to, kind of work the way that you want to work. So you really get to run a business within a business, meaning you get to generate your own leads. There's no physical cap or someone screaming at you telling you what to do. You're your own business within a dealership. And one of the most beautiful things about selling cars is that the inventory is provided for you, the location is provided for you, the management and support team is provided for you. All you got to do is get your lazy ass out of the couch and go work. I mean, point blank, period. So you really get to run a business within a business, and the leads are generated to you. People are walking to your door. So it's the fact that you have a business within a business gives you an opportunity to scale, and it goes hand in hand with the huge earning potential, in which mainly what you got to do is simply work. Okay. Con number 4. There's no guarantee, right? So when you first get started, especially if you're not prepared and you don't have any training, you don't have a guarantee. Sometimes they might give you a $2,000, $1,500, $3,000 draw in which you don't cover it through your production. You'll have to pay the money back to the dealership, and you kind of go in the hole in the bucket. But there's no guarantee, right? I mean, unlike the 9 to 5 where you get the $50,000 guaranteed, this one you don't get any guaranteed, but you get the potential to make $500,000 a year. We just had a 21-year-old kid named Jesse. Guy's making $300,000 a year. He's 21 years old, makes more money than his parents. And then you also got, we had a guy named Cody, and he team sells with his girlfriend or his fiance, and they make $500,000 a year. So you don't have an earning cap like the 9 to 5, but you don't have a guarantee. So it's kind of like that in between. It's really up to you, as if you're a risk taker, if you're not. Personally, I took the risk, and I made over $200,000 when I was selling cars. And the last pro is that the barrier to entry is very little. The only thing else that I'd recommend is the barrier to entry is so little. You don't need a degree. You don't need anything. I mean, you could be graduating high school. Sometimes you don't even need a GED. You could go into selling cars without a high school diploma or without a GED and go sell cars. I mean, the barrier to entry is so low, and you get based off of your performance. That's mainly your performance and what you do. So they're not going to judge you if you have a finance degree. I'd actually recommend not to go waste your time in college and get a finance degree. I'd recommend go into the real world and start selling cars as soon as possible. So the barrier to entry is really low. The only thing I'd recommend is to go watch my interview video about how to interview for a sales job, and then basically guarantee that you get the job every single time. So those are the pros and cons of selling cars. I hope you have an understanding now at the end of the video, as to how to kind of what to expect when you are selling cars. If you like the video, make sure to drop a like, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll be bringing you more content like this on a continual basis.